When Seth Curry walked into that luxury watch store in Beverly Hills, wearing nothing but a simple hoodie and worn sneakers, the manager immediately assumed he didn't have the money to be there. What the manager didn't know was that he was about to commit the biggest mistake of his professional career. In the next few minutes, a simple purchase attempt would transform into a lesson about judgments that no one in the store would ever forget. What Seth did when he was informed that he couldn't afford a $180,000 watch left everyone speechless. The March afternoon sun painted Beverly Hills in golden tones, creating brilliant reflections on the immaculate storefronts of Rodeo Drive. Seth Curry adjusted the hood of his gray sweatshirt over his head as he walked down the busy sidewalk, observing the luxury stores that lined up like soldiers in formation. At 33 years old, he had learned to appreciate these moments of anonymity, rare intervals between NBA games where he could simply be just another face in the crowd. The timepiece gallery stood out among the surrounding boutiques. Its tempered glass facade and brushed steel structure exuded understated sophistication, while the interior revealed a sanctuary dedicated to the art of watchmaking. Seth paused before the entrance, observing through the main window a Patek Philippe Nautilus that immediately captured his attention. The soft chime of a bell announced his entry. The air conditioning whispered almost imperceptibly, maintaining the perfect temperature to preserve the delicate mechanisms displayed in the illuminated showcases. The thick carpet muffled his steps as he absorbed the environment, walls covered in dark wood, strategically positioned lighting to highlight each piece, and the subtle aroma of leather and polished metal. "Good afternoon," Seth murmured to no one in particular, his words getting lost in the spacious area of the store. 3 employees moved through the P2 environment with choreographed precision. Behind the main counter, Diana Rodriguez, a 28-year-old Latina with black hair pulled back in an elegant bun, organized paperwork with fluid movements. Her navy blue blazer and genuine smile contrasted with the more rigid posture of James Patterson, a 50-year-old man who was attending to a client near the Rolex section, his voice carrying the condescending tone reserved for high-value sales. From the glass office on the second floor, Marcus Sterling observed. At 45 years old, the manager had cultivated an impeccable image: perfectly styled graying hair, an Italian suit without a wrinkle, and gold-framed glasses that reflected the store's lights. His eyes fixed on the young man in the hoodie, who walked among the showcases with apparent curiosity. Seth approached the section dedicated to Patek Philippe, his trained eyes immediately identifying the complications of each piece. The Nautilus he had seen from the window was even more impressive up close. Its octagonal stainless steel case, the petrol blue dial with horizontal guilloche, and the caliber 324 SC visible through the transparent caseback. Automatic movement, he murmured to himself, leaning slightly to examine the details. 45-hour power reserve, water-resistant to 120 meters. His genuine appreciation was evident in the way he studied every aspect of the watch. Years playing professionally had provided him not only financial success, but also a deep education in luxury items, cars, jewelry, and especially watches. Steffelways joked that Seth had a jeweler's eye for exceptional pieces. On the other side of the store, James was attending to a middle-aged man wearing an Armani suit. The client held a glass of Dom Perignon champagne while examining a rose-gold Rolex Daytona, clearly enjoying the VIP treatment reserved for serious buyers. "This particular piece," James explained with reverence, "is a limited edition. Only 500 were produced worldwide." The contrast didn't go unnoticed by Seth. He observed the deference, the champagne, the meticulous attention, a world where treatment depended entirely on first impressions. In the upper office, Marcus finished a call and focused his attention on the young man in the hoodie. His 2 decades of experience in luxury retail had taught him to read customers quickly, and something about that young man's presence bothered him. Beverly Hills attracted all kinds of people, including many who simply faked it until they made it. Young people who entered expensive stores to take photos for social media, or simply to satisfy curiosity without real intention of purchasing. "Diana," Marcus said through the intercom, his voice low but clear. "Keep an eye on the young man in the Patek Philippe section." Diana looked up, noticing Seth for the first time. There was something in his posture that suggested genuine familiarity with sophisticated environments. But Marcus had been clear about his policy. "In this store, we protect our investments as much as we serve our customers." Seth continued his silent exploration, moving between the showcases with deliberate pace. He stopped before a Vacheron Constantin Patrimony ultra-thin, admiring its minimalist elegance, then moved to an A. Lange & Söhne Lange 1, fascinated by the asymmetrical arrangement of the subdials. The knowledge was evident in every stop, every observation. It wasn't casual tourism. It was the careful examination of someone who truly understood the craftsmanship involved in each piece. Finally, he returned to the Patek Philippe Nautilus that had captured his initial attention. The price, discreetly displayed, $180,000, didn't provoke any visible reaction. Seth simply continued studying the watch, lost in his own thoughts about perfect timing and Swiss engineering. The sound of approaching footsteps broke his concentration. Marcus had come down from the office and was walking toward him with determined purpose, his Italian shoes producing precise clicks against the marble floor. The storm was about to begin. "Good afternoon," Marcus said, his voice carrying a professional cordiality that didn't reach his eyes. He stopped at a respectful distance, but his body language suggested caution. "May I help you with something specific today?" Seth turned, offering a genuine smile. "Good afternoon. I'm interested in this Patek Philippe." He gestured toward the Nautilus. "It's a really impressive piece." Marcus studied the young man more carefully. The hoodie was good quality, probably Nike or Adidas, but still too casual for the environment. The sneakers were clean but used, and there were no obvious signs of wealth. No flashy jewelry, no expensive watch on his wrist, no accessories screaming financial success. "Ah, yes, the Nautilus," Marcus responded, maintaining a neutral tone. "It's truly an exceptional piece. Patek Philippe, well, it's considered the pinnacle of Swiss watchmaking." He paused deliberately. "This particular piece has a quite substantial price. Have you had experience with watches in this category before?" The question carried layers of implication. Seth perceived them all, but maintained his composure. Years of being the younger brother of a superstar had taught him patience with uncomfortable situations. "I have some familiarity with quality watches," Seth responded calmly. "Could you show me the piece more closely?" Marcus hesitated. Protocol dictated that serious clients should be accommodated immediately, but his instincts suggested caution. After a moment that lasted longer than comfortable, he beckoned to Diana. "Diana, could you bring us the key to the Patek Philippe showcase?" Diana approached, handing over the small golden key. She noticed the subtle tension between the two men, but didn't comment. Marcus opened the showcase, with precise movements, removing the Nautilus with obvious reluctance. "As you can see," he said, holding the watch at a distance that allowed observation but discouraged touching, "the craftsmanship is truly exceptional. The caliber 324 SC movement has 29 joules, Swiss anchor escapement, and gyromax balance. Seth listened attentively, but his attention focused on the watch itself. Even from a distance, he could appreciate the intricate details, the guilloche pattern on the dial, the subtle luminescence of the markers, the smoothness of the sweeping second hand. "Could I hold it?" Seth asked simply. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Well, this is a $180,000 piece. Our policy generally requires certain guarantees before allowing direct handling." The elephant in the room had been addressed, albeit obliquely. Seth processed the statement, recognizing a discriminatory practice disguised as store policy. "I understand," Seth said, his voice level. "And what would those guarantees be?" Marcus cleared his throat. "We normally request proof of serious buying intent, pre-approval for financing, bank statements, that type of documentation." Diana watched the exchange with growing discomfort. She had worked at the store for 3 years and knew that regular customers, usually older and obviously wealthy men, rarely faced such requirements. Mr. Henderson, who had bought a Rolex the previous week, had handled multiple pieces worth hundreds of thousands without any upfront paperwork. Alternatively, Marcus continued, "we have a wonderful selection of more accessible timepieces in the section over there." He gestured toward a smaller showcase containing watches in the $5,000 to $15,000 range. Seth followed his gaze, then returned attention to Marcus. "I appreciate the suggestion, but my interest is specifically in this piece." The tension escalated. James, who had concluded his previous sale, drifted closer, clearly curious about a conversation that was lasting longer than usual for the demographic that Seth appeared to represent. "Sir," Marcus said, his tone shifting to something more direct, "I'll be frank with you. This watch costs $180,000. It's not the type of purchase one makes impulsively. Perhaps it would be better for you to consider establishments more suited to your current budget." The words hung in the air like smoke, their implication clear, despite the diplomatic phrasing. Seth felt the familiar sting of prejudgment, a sensation he knew well from years of being underestimated. Diana winced visibly. Even James seemed uncomfortable with the bluntness of Marcus's approach. The store prided itself on discretion and professionalism, but this had crossed a line. Seth took a deep breath, measuring his response. He could feel eyes upon him, Diana's sympathetic, James's curious, Marcus's defensive, yet challenging. Outside, Beverly Hills continued its afternoon rhythm, oblivious to the small drama unfolding behind glass walls. "I see," Seth said finally, his voice containing multitudes of controlled emotion. "And you determine buying capability how, exactly?" Marcus straightened, realizing he had perhaps gone too far, but unwilling to back down completely. "Experience, sir. 20 years in this business teaches you to recognize serious buyers. Based on appearance? Based on various factors." The standoff stretched, each man measuring the other. Seth recognized a choice point. He could walk away, offended but taking the high road, or he could demonstrate just how wrong assumptions could be. He reached for his wallet. The soft sound of leather against fabric broke the tense silence as Seth withdrew his wallet. It wasn't ostentatious, a simple designer piece in black leather, without obvious logos or vulgar displays of wealth. With deliberate movements, he extracted a card and placed it on the glass counter between them. The American Express Centurion card, known simply as the Black Card, gleamed under the store's lights. Made of anodized titanium, weighing nearly an ounce, it was immediately recognizable to anyone familiar with high-end financial services. Marcus's eyes widened slightly. The Centurion card wasn't just exclusive, it was invitation only, requiring annual fees of $10,000 and minimum annual spending well into six figures. Banks issued them only to individuals with proven substantial wealth and spotless credit history. "I would like to process the purchase of this Patek Philippe, please," Seth said calmly, his voice carrying none of the tension that had characterized their previous exchange. Marcus stared at the card, his carefully constructed assumptions beginning to crumble. Diana moved closer, recognizing the shift in dynamics. James, always opportunistic, suddenly developed interest in the conversation. "Of course, sir," Marcus stammered, reaching for the card with newfound respect. "Would you also like to consider our complimentary services, insurance setup, maintenance program?" "Actually," Seth interrupted gently, "before processing this, I would also like to see that Rolex Daytona over there." He pointed to an adjacent showcase, where a rose gold Daytona sat prominently displayed. "It's for a gift." Marcus practically scrambled to accommodate, his earlier reluctance replaced by eager attention. "Certainly. The Daytona is an excellent choice. Let me get that for you immediately." As Marcus hurried to retrieve the second watch, Diana approached the terminal to begin processing the Centurion card. Modern payment systems required additional verification for transactions over $100,000, triggering automatic identity confirmation protocols. "I'll need to see ID to complete this transaction," Diana said professionally, though her tone carried newfound warmth. Seth handed over his driver's license without hesitation. Diana glanced at the name. Seth Adam Curry. Something about it seemed familiar, but she couldn't immediately place it. Marcus returned with the Daytona, now treating Seth as a valued customer deserving of full attention. This particular piece features the caliber 4130 movement, completely manufactured in-house by Rolex. The rose gold case, complemented by the chocolate dial, creates a truly striking appearance. Seth examined the Daytona briefly. "It's beautiful. I'll take both." "Both?" Marcus's voice cracked slightly. Two watches totaling nearly $200,000, purchased by someone he had dismissed minutes earlier, challenged every assumption he had made about customer profiling. Diana continued processing the payment, waiting for the security verification to clear. The system required manager approval for transactions over $150,000, a protocol that Marcus himself had established. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. "Sir," Diana said carefully, "the system is requesting additional verification. Could you confirm your address and phone number for our records?" Seth provided the information while Marcus hovered nervously. The magnitude of his error was becoming clear. He had potentially insulted and alienated a customer capable of making purchases that would significantly impact monthly sales numbers. Diana's eyes lit up suddenly. "Wait," she said quietly. "Are you related to Steph Curry?" Seth's expression softened. "He's my older brother." Understanding flooded Diana's face. Steph Curry, two-time NBA MVP, multiple championship winner, one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. His family, by extension, possessed wealth that rendered $200,000 watch purchases routine rather than exceptional. Diana looked at Marcus pointedly. Marcus's face drained of color as the implications sank in. He hadn't just misjudged a customer. He had misjudged someone connected to sports royalty. someone whose single social media post could devastate the store's reputation. "Oh my God," Marcus whispered. "I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Mr. Curry. Our service should have been exemplary from the beginning." Seth raised a hand gently. "It's okay. Happens more often than you might think." But it wasn't okay, and everyone present knew it. The transaction completed successfully. $180,000 for the Patek Philippe, $15,000 for the Rolex Daytona. Marcus offered champagne, private viewing rooms, expedited delivery, anything to make amends for his earlier behavior. Seth accepted only the basic services, declining special treatment that hadn't been offered before his identity became known. His dignity in the face of discrimination was more powerful than any angry response could have been. "Mr. Curry," Diana said as she prepared the receipts, "I apologize for how you were treated initially. That's not who we're supposed to be." Seth smiled genuinely at her. "You treated me fairly throughout. I appreciate that." Marcus shifted uncomfortably, realizing that Diana's professional behavior throughout the incident contrasted sharply with his own prejudiced approach. The lesson was clear. Assumptions based on appearance could be both morally wrong and financially costly. The gravity of what had transpired began settling upon everyone present. This wasn't just about a missed sale or poor customer service. It was about fundamental respect for human dignity, regardless of appearance or status. The remainder of the transaction proceeded with the smooth efficiency that should have characterized the entire encounter. Seth maintained his composed demeanor as Marcus processed the final paperwork, insurance documentation, and warranty registrations for both timepieces. The contrast between Marcus's current attentiveness and his earlier dismissiveness hung in the air like an uncomfortable reminder of opportunities missed. "Mr. Curry," Marcus said, his voice carrying forced enthusiasm, "as a valued customer making a significant purchase, you're automatically enrolled in our Platinum Client Program. This includes annual complimentary servicing, priority access to new releases, and exclusive invitations to private viewing events." Seth accepted the membership card politely, but without enthusiasm. Special treatment offered after revealing his identity felt hollow compared to the basic respect that should have been extended from the beginning. Diana approached discreetly while Marcus finalized shipping arrangements. "Mr. Curry, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Seth nodded, and they moved to a quieter corner of the store. "I wanted to apologize personally," Diana began, her voice sincere. "What happened today? That's not how we're supposed to treat anyone, regardless of who they are." "I appreciate that," Seth replied thoughtfully. "But you didn't do anything wrong. You were professional throughout." "Still," Diana continued, "I should have spoken up when I saw what was happening. Silence makes you complicit, doesn't it?" Her honesty impressed Seth. "It's complicated. Workplace dynamics, hierarchy. I understand why you hesitated. Can I ask you something?" Diana's curiosity overcame her professional reserve. "How do you handle this? Being judged before people know who you are?" Seth considered a question he'd reflected upon countless times. You learn to lead with who you are, not what you have. Some people will always make assumptions, but that says more about them than about you. Do you ever get angry? Sure, Seth smiled. But anger alone doesn't change anything. How you respond to prejudice, that's what matters. You can educate, demonstrate dignity, or sometimes, he gestured to the expensive purchases being wrapped, just prove people wrong through actions. Their conversation was interrupted by Marcus approaching with two elegant shopping bags containing the meticulously wrapped timepieces. "Mr. Curry, everything is prepared for your departure. Again, I cannot apologize enough for any misunderstanding earlier." Seth faced Marcus directly. The moment called for grace rather than recrimination. "Marcus," he said, using the manager's first name deliberately, "I understand you thought you were protecting your store, but consider this. Real luxury service isn't about excluding people. It's about treating everyone with dignity first. You never know who might surprise you." Marcus nodded, chastened. "You're absolutely right. I'll make sure our entire team receives additional training about proper customer relations." "That's good to hear." Seth paused. "One more thing. Diana provided excellent service today. Her professionalism throughout this situation deserves recognition." Diana blushed at the unsolicited praise. Marcus made a mental note. Seth's endorsement carried weight that would benefit her career significantly. As Seth prepared to leave, James approached nervously. "Mr. Curry, I just wanted to say, I'm a huge fan of your brother. Could I possibly—" "James," Seth interrupted gently, "maybe focus on being a better salesperson instead of a fan today." The subtle rebuke hit its mark. James retreated, understanding that his opportunity for personal interaction had been forfeited through earlier indifference. Seth gathered his purchases and headed toward the exit. Diana accompanied him to the door. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" "For handling this with class. A lot of people would have made a scene, demanded apologies, posted about it online. You chose a better way." Seth paused at the threshold. "Diana, can I tell you something? My family taught me that how you treat people when you have advantage shows your true character. Everyone deserves dignity, whether they're buying a $200,000 watch or just window shopping." 1 week later, Timepiece Gallery implemented comprehensive customer service training, focusing on equality of treatment, regardless of appearance. Marcus used Seth's visit, without naming him, as a case study in how prejudgment could damage both customer relationships and business reputation. Diana received a promotion to senior sales associate, partially based on her professional conduct during the incident. She became a mentor for new employees, teaching them to see beyond surface impressions. Marcus himself changed. The experience forced him to confront his own biases and develop more inclusive practices. While costly personally, the lesson ultimately made him a better manager and human being. That evening, Seth arrived at his brother Stephen's house in Atherton carrying the elegantly wrapped Rolex box. The family was gathered for dinner. Stephen, his wife Isha, their children, and Seth's parents, Del and Sonia. "Got you something," Seth said casually, handing Steph the box. Steph opened it to reveal the rose gold Daytona. "Bro, this is beautiful. What's the occasion?" "Just felt like it," Seth replied. But during dinner, he shared the story of his afternoon in Beverly Hills. "Same old stuff," Steph said, shaking his head. "People make assumptions." "Yeah, but here's the thing," Seth continued. "I could have gotten angry, made demands, posted about it online. Instead, I chose to respond differently. And you know what? I think it actually changed. Something." Their father Del nodded approvingly. "That's how you create real change, by showing people a better way rather than just telling them." "Plus," Seth added with a grin, "nothing proves a point quite like dropping $195,000 on watches after someone suggests you can't afford them." The family laughed, but beneath the humor lay a deeper truth about dignity, respect, and the power of responding to prejudice with grace rather than anger. outside California. Stars twinkled above a state where dreams and reality intersected daily, where assumptions were constantly challenged, and where sometimes the most powerful response to discrimination was simply proving people wrong through quiet dignity and character. Seth wound his new Patek Philippe, listening to the quiet tick that would mark moments of a life lived authentically, regardless of others' expectations or limitations. Some victories, he reflected, were measured not in points scored or games won, but in hearts changed and minds opened. Today had been one such victory.